Hi English 11A students, Tree Hall here, and the purpose of this short video is to just give you help on writing your Unit 3 writing project. If you are choosing to write the formal research paper, this video isn't for you. You just want to follow the guidelines in there, and it's a 900 word requirement, and you have to have at least 5 sources, and well, the requirements are pretty clear. But if you are going to choose this alternate topic, then if you watch this video, you will walk away with a plan of attack for your essay, and that has a little bit lower word requirement. I'm actually hoping you guys will choose this because I like to see you guys writing about the literature that you're actually reading. So with that, let's go ahead and go through here. First step towards here, let's see. Let's first take a look at our topic. So our topic is an essay on nonfiction readings from units 1 through 3. So far throughout this course, you've been reading informational text. Although the primary purpose of informational text is to provide information, their authors also have specific points of view, and typically even an informational text supports a central argument or point. Write an essay of at least 600 words that analyzes 3 informational texts that you read in this unit, and in your essay describe how the authors make their point and or support their argument. So I also provided a little bit more detail on here, and I'm going to be sending out the link for this along with the video. If you click this link over here, it's going to give you, whoops, let me see. Okay. Let me pull this over here. Okay, I know this isn't perfect. So it kind of gives you a list of the readings. And what I did is I took all these from our lessons and I highlighted these. You have to pick 3 of these. So what you're going to want to do is pick the ones that you like the best, or the ones that you think, actually even better, pick the ones that you think are easiest to write on. So that's where that link goes, and again, they are highlighted in yellow. So anyway, that's option 2. Now, the first step in writing an essay is turning the topic into a question. I've been teaching writing for years and years and years, and this is something I think I even do fairly well. So the very first thing that you have to do is turn the topic into a question with a question mark. And there are 2 really good reasons why you have to do this. One, it clarifies what you're going to be writing about. Because always when you turn it into a question, it's shorter than it was when you saw it as a topic. Because when teachers or text makers or whatever write out an essay topic, they also include some background information that you're going to need. And then also, the second reason why this is important is because it allows you to test your thesis statement. So when you look at our topic, it's write an essay of at least 600 words that analyzes 3 informational texts you read in this unit, and in your essay describe how the authors make their point and or support their argument. Now you notice in the first topic there's no question mark. If you just look at that for a second, though, you can kind of see that there's a question there. And if you rephrase it as a question with a question mark, it kind of runs like this. How did the authors of 3 informational texts you read in this unit make their point and or support their argument? So basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be looking at 3 different readings that you read, and you're going to say, what was the point these authors were trying to make when they wrote this informational text? Because there always is a point. And how did they support their argument? So that's what you're going to be writing about. Now, that second reason why it's important to turn it into a question is that you can test your thesis statement. If somebody asked the question, how did the authors make their point and or support the argument? And the answer was, donkeys live a long time. No one's ever seen a dead donkey. Right away, you would say, whoa, what are you talking about? That doesn't even address the question. Your thesis statement, which is the single most important sentence in your entire essay, needs to answer that topic question. And how can you tell something is answering a question? You see some of the words from the question in it. So a good thesis statement should say something like, the authors of the informational texts, you can even list these 3, made their point by or supported their argument by, and then pick a few different things there and you can answer that. So you should see some words from the topic question in your thesis statement. Now let's move on to the next step. So again, step 1, turn topic into a question. Step 2, you need to organize your essay. If you can map out your essay, be able to provide a topic for each body paragraph, and I say body because within every essay we already know there's going to be an intro, conclusion, and we're going to talk about that for a second, you're 80% home. So if you can do that, you're very close to being able to write this essay. So let's just back out for a second, and remember that an essay is a stylized piece of writing, and what that means is you have to follow the rules. Everybody knows a haiku, right? 5 syllables one line, 7 syllables the next, and then 5 again. It's a 3-line poem. Now you can write a 13-line poem if you want, but it's not a haiku. If you want your poem to be a haiku, you have to follow those rules. You have to count syllables, and you have to make it work under those rules. Well, an essay is the same thing. You can't just write whatever you want in an essay. You actually have to follow the rules. And in an essay, there are 3 parts of every essay. There's an introduction, there is a body, and there's a conclusion. Another thing that you should know is in the introduction, you have to tell the reader what you're going to tell them. In the body, you have to tell them. And in the conclusion, you tell them what you told them. Now, based on that, you can also think of an essay that your intro is probably going to be about the same size as your conclusion, because your conclusion is just basically restating the intro. And then also the tell 'em part of your essay, the body, is always going to be the biggest part of your essay. So typically, one way to look at an essay is that about 60 to 75% of it is body, and about 25% to 30% is intro and conclusion. So if you looked at a typical 5-paragraph essay, which by the way is about 600 words, so if you get a 600-word requirement, you can retranslate that out into 5 paragraphs. You should know that there's going to be an intro paragraph, and because the conclusion is a restatement of the intro, there's going to be a conclusion paragraph, and then of course that's 5 minus 2 equals 3. That means you're going to have 3 body paragraphs. Now, the key to writing good essays is being able to map out those body paragraphs. So part of that requires kind of rephrasing the topic question. Let's say you had an essay topic and it said write a 5-paragraph a 5-paragraph essay that explains how technology affects your life. Now the first thing you do is you change the topic into a question with a question mark, and the question would be, how does technology affect your life? Now, since you were just told that it was a 5-paragraph essay, you know you have an intro, you know you have a conclusion, which means 5 minus 2 equals 3. You have 3 body paragraphs. So what you do is you rephrase that topic question. In what 3 ways does technology affect your life? Why did you insert 3? Because you had 3 body paragraphs, so that makes sense. So now what we need to do is we need to take a look at the topic we have, and we need to organize it. Now, again, a 600-word essay is usually about a 5-paragraph essay. That means that we're going to have an intro paragraph and a conclusion paragraph, which, just like this one, that leaves us with 3 body paragraphs. So let's go down and take a look at that. When you organize your essay, you create something that I call an essay map, and this becomes very, very helpful when you write essays. So you take your thesis questions or your topic question, how do the authors of 3 informational texts you read in this unit make their point and support their argument? And then next to that or under it or whatever, if you're writing, if you're doing your notes, and this just takes 10-20 seconds. This is not a big deal. It's not like writing a formal outline. You write out intro paragraph, MP1. MP1 stands for main point 1. MP2 stands for main point 2. MP3, main point 3. And then conclusion. And of course your MPs are your body paragraphs. It's the same thing. Then you look at the topic and you say, is there anything in this topic that might suggest how my essay is organized? Well, it is interesting that in this topic it says, how did the authors of 3 informational texts, why 3? Well, we have 3 body paragraphs. Perfect. What is the best way to organize this? Well, you take 3 of the texts that you read and you choose which 3, and those 3 become your body paragraphs. And what is going to happen in each of these body paragraphs, you're going to explain how that author of that particular text made their specific or particular point. So that is how that is going to work. Once you have an essay map, you will find, and this is why I'm hoping you're watching this video, you will find that the 30 to 45 seconds it took you to make an essay map will cut down the amount of time it takes you to write your essay into a third of what it used to take you. And here's why. You learn to confine what you're saying to the place that it belongs. If I'm going to use John Muir's reading on Save the Redwoods, I'm only going to talk about that reading in main point 1. I'm not going to talk about it anywhere else in my essay because I have mapped it out to reading 1. If I want to use the Teddy Roosevelt speech about conservation, I chuck that in reading 2, and I only talk about Teddy Roosevelt. I only talk about him in main paragraph 3, and then maybe I've got another one from a little further on that I chuck in main paragraph in main point 3. But what it does is it confines me, and I know that, okay, I've got to have 6 to 8 sentences on the Roosevelt reading. So I'm going to put that in body paragraph 2, but I'm not even going to mention the Roosevelt reading in paragraph 1 or paragraph 3 because those have their own readings. And so that's why an essay map is important. Very quickly, before you move on, press pause on this video and write your essay map out and take my list and circle or copy and paste the 3 readings you're planning to write about, and those will become your 3 body paragraphs. Let's move on to the next thing. Okay, intro, conclusion, detail. So once you've mapped out your essay, now you're ready to write. And the thing that you need to start with is your intro paragraph because it's the first paragraph in your essay. So you need to remember that your intro has to do 2 things. First of all, it must introduce the topic. And second, it must provide the thesis or answer the topic question. Another way to look at the intro paragraph, and they're usually about 4 or 5 sentences long. Your thesis always comes at the end of the intro paragraph. And so what goes inside the introduction is 3 or 4 sentences that are going to help your reader understand your thesis statement. Now, in your thesis statement, you're going to explain how some of these authors are making their points, are making their arguments using informational text, which is a specific type of text. Remember, everything you read in this was nonfiction. It was designed to give you information about topics that maybe you hadn't seen before. So what you probably should do in the intro is in 2 to 3 to 4 sentences, introduce the idea of an informational text. What is an informational text? You can look that up on Wikipedia and it's going to give you an example. You might even want to introduce the authors that you're going to talk about. Just anything that's going to help your reader understand your answer to that question, that how these authors made their points. Now, in your conclusion, so again, what you need to do when you do your intro, count, make sure you got 4 to 6 sentences. Now you're ready to move on to your body, but when you get all done with your 3 body paragraphs, don't forget when you get to the conclusion is usually a little smaller than an intro. If an intro was 4 or 5 sentences, a conclusion is 3 or 4. So it's just slightly smaller. By the way, if your conclusion ends up going long, that is a sign that you didn't make a good argument in your body. It's like you kind of have this feeling like you've left something out. If you're feeling that way, you need to look at your body paragraphs because your main argument needs to go in there. The conclusion is simply supposed to be a restatement. It's telling your reader what you already told them. Hey, in case you've just forgotten, here's the point that I was making. So this is what goes in your intro and conclusion. Now let's take a look at your body paragraphs. Remember that each body paragraph is going to be its own informational text. So you have picked 3 texts that you're going to write about, 3 of the readings. And again, I would say pick the ones that you feel you can write about the easiest, who maybe already naturally have a fairly strong argument in them and you can tell. Like I chose Save the Redwoods because that was very much a persuasive piece of informational text. I mean, the author certainly had a point in that text. So don't forget that good body paragraphs are 6 to 8 sentences long. Each body paragraph must do 2 things. They must describe the specific topic in detail. That is information from the reading, who, what, where, and when. Use lots of good information from the reading itself. And then they need to identify the author's point and how he or she has made their point. That needs to explain the argument. The way to look at your body paragraphs is each body paragraph is going to be a 6 to 8 sentence answer of the topic question. How did the author in this particular reading that you're going to be talking about, make their point and or support their argument. You're going to answer that in 6 or 8 sentences. So generally in the first sentence, you're going to want to identify the name of the informational text and the name of the author. And it's even better if you come up with their argument right then and there in that first sentence. That is also called the topic sentence. That is another way to look at a topic sentence. The very first sentence of your body paragraph is a 1-sentence summary of your body paragraph. Next, you've got 6 sentences left. You want to take 3 or 4 sentences and you're looking at that reading and you want to give detail. Tell the readers what the reading said. So give us some information. That's stuff that really comes out. That's the place also where you want to use quotes if you want to use quotes from those readings. The next thing that you have to do is you have to explain how the author made their point. And that can't come from the reading. That has to come from your mind. So you need to look at the information you just put in there and you need to explain how the author made their point of view. What did the author do in the reading that really convinced the reader of their argument? What got their point across? And you know, the interesting thing about this second part, there's not a right or wrong answer. There's a logical and illogical answer. If you saw your teacher punch a kid in the face for not pulling out a piece of paper soon enough in their class, that's, I know, a silly example, but this is one I used to use with my students in what we called the Mr. Treehall's a Jerk essay. If your parent, if you saw that happen on the first day of school and you came home and your mom or dad was like, hey, how's that Mr. Treehall? Is he cool? You cannot logically say that I'm cool if I'm punching kids in the face for not pulling out paper. You would have to say, that dude's a psychomaniac, actually. That's really what he's like. That is logical. So what you want to think about is think of this information that you're putting in the first 3 or 4 sentences and then say, okay, logically, how is this information showing the point that the author is making? How did the author convince me of something or teach me about something here? And that just comes from your brain. And again, there's logic or illogical. Here's another thing to think of. Remember, you need to count these. A good body paragraph is 6 or 8 sentences long. If you spent 4 sentences describing the reading, then you only need to spend 2 sentences explaining it. Or what if you only spent 2 sentences describing it? You need to have 4 sentences explaining it, plus your topic sentence. So you want to make sure that your body paragraphs are nice and decently long, 6 to 8 sentences. And you also want to make sure that they're all about the same length as each other, because it looks weird when you have like a little shrimpy body paragraph. Usually happens at the end. Somebody's getting tired of writing and so they shrimp out a little bit. That doesn't look so good. So you want to make sure that they're all 3 about the same. So with that, you have all the information you need to write your essay. And I'm hoping that after you've watched this, you feel like, you're confident in writing this thing. Now, if you're not, please feel free to get a hold of me, and I am happy to walk you through this process. It would be nice, it would be quicker if you've already chosen your 3 readings, so we can say, okay, what are you going to write about? And okay, what do you think is the main point of this reading? What do you think is and that's what should help you choose your readings too, is can you answer the question, what is the main point of that reading? And if you can't, my argument would be don't pick that reading. Move on to one you can. Anyway, I hope that this video helps you. If you need additional help, please let me know, and I am happy to help you. Treehall's out. Bye-bye.